Duckweed, the bane of fish keepers, the boon of aquaponic enthusiasts. So if you're part of those two worlds, then you're familiar with duckweed. Duckweed is this very small aquatic plant, literally that is all it is, and it replicates very quickly by budding a little tiny plant that are so small I don't even know if I can make it focus on them. Itty bitty little baby. And they say in ideal conditions, with enough light and good nutrients in the water, a collection of duckweed will double in mass every 24 to 36 hours. And I will tell you that I don't know if that's true, but it does grow very, very quickly, reproduce very, very quickly. And why it's considered such a boon to some people is that it is very high percentage of its mass is protein. So they provide a huge amount of protein. I think it's like some sources say anywhere from 30 to 40%. So that's a freaking lot of protein. So it's also popular in the homesteading world because it's seen as a very valuable thing. So there's actually been studies about people eating it. So this actually being grown for human protein needs. But primarily it's focused on animals. So either you grow this in your pond so that the koi can eat it, which is why I originally acquired some of this. But it's also handy for your poultry. So feeding it to your poultry, they love this stuff too. Chickens, ducks, etc. will eat this and it's really, really good for them. So I originally got it because I thought about putting it in the pond. So this year, long since my koi have died, unfortunately, due to a de-icer malfunction. You can watch a really old video on that on my channel. But right now I have feeder goldfish and feeder minnows in there, and they're reproducing like crazy. I actually had an algal bloom, and I was really concerned about that, but then the fish ate all the algae. So I've actually been feeding them normal food. But I was looking at possibly adding the duckweed to the pond so that as a screw, they would be able to eat this as a source of food since the algae's gone. But there's a problem with that. I began to overthink the situation. I got really, really nervous about wild animals like ducks, because very rarely we have ducks. Usually at the beginning of the season we have ducks, and we have a great blue heron that visit us like once or twice a year. And I was so concerned about some kind of waterfowl coming to my pond, getting this on their little feet, and then going to some other waterway and infecting it. Because this is like herpes. This is like freshwater herpes, and it will grow and spread and take over an entire ecosystem. So that made me a little nervous, so I hesitated on putting it out in the pond. So I've just been feeding the fish food. So that will have to do for now. But I wanted to keep trying to grow it. Since I already had it, I decided to create a system for growing it massive amounts and then feeding it to my chickens all year, but especially in the winter when they don't have access to a lot of greens. Now, in previous years, I would grow little trays of sprouts, so I'd sprout seeds or just grow little mats of something, and that does kind of work, and they like that, but it's actually it's kind of a pain. It takes a while to grow, and if you really want to be like sanitary about it, like sprouting seeds involves like disinfectants and all this other stuff so it doesn't mold in the trays, and it's just it's not as amazing a setup as this, which is really easy to do. Literally, I fill these trays with water, I throw in a little dash of duckweed, have some nutrients in here, it's right in front of a window, and this will grow right crazy. It's currently not growing very crazy because it's very cloudy out, so there isn't a lot of sun, but it's coming along. I actually started in smaller trays up here. I just ordered a small cup of it, and I actually produced several of these trays. Now, some of the trays I've let move on because the duckweed I ordered off eBay came in this foul-smelling liquid, and I assume it's because they had put fertilizer in it, but it smelled like chicken crap, and it was not very pleasant, and I did not want that smelling up my grow room. So I ended up getting rid of the initial cultures. Here's some of the original that are still around. This is actually after I diluted the disgusting water. It's still very disgusting. I'm going to ditch that, but I just put it in. Basically, I've been taking little samples from each tray, putting it in clean water, then doing it again to try to get rid of any lingering, whatever the heck that fluid was. But right now, this is just water with a tiny bit of fertilizer in it. I'm using the fertilizer I use for everything, which is Fox Farms Grow Big, to provide some nitrogen. And they have been growing great. Since I put these out, because I literally only threw a few, I was going to say, I don't know, maybe a dozen plants in each of these trays, and they're already coming along. They're not going crazy. They're not growing like exponentially, only because it's not particularly sunny, because we've had rainy, horrible days since I started these big trays. So not massive explosive growth. And I don't know if I entirely believe those ideal condition numbers. They do grow very quickly. So Edible Acres is another great channel you should definitely be watching and following. He's so excited about duckweed as chicken food, and he's come up with a bunch of fun designs, like putting a kiddie pool with this in the chicken run so the chickens can eat it. I might do that too. It's because I'm slowly improving my chicken run. I actually have like a little pond out there for them made out of essentially a kiddie pool. And I may add some of this out there. So they'll pick at the duckweed on the edges, and it'll keep multiplying and provide them ongoing food. Now we're at the end of the season. Now I'm thinking more winter, so I'm not worrying about that as much. I'll get to the outside stuff later and do some experiments, much like Edible Acres is doing in duckweed production. But for now, I'm focusing on the coming winter. So my brain this time of the year is always, okay, what can I do? Preparation for winter. So I've got these trays set up on this wire rack. I'm going to put some more on all these racks, and I have additional racks in this room. And I could have dozens of these trays growing, and then once the tray gets full, I scoop some out, throw it in a bowl, bring it out to my chickens, and they will have high protein feed all winter long. And maybe in the future, if I get really intense doing this, maybe this is all this is basically the only feed I give them. Now, of course, I have a huge place to roam. I have put them back in the electric fence, but they have a pretty big area, and I'm actually going to be doubling the size of that area next year. Once I have the money to buy more poultry netting, I'm actually going to give them basically I'm going to put poultry netting around an entire field, and I'll do a separate video about that, but they'll have a huge expanse guarding my hazelnuts. That's the plan. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. Duckweed is super fascinating plant. I just love growing it. I don't know what it is. It's just such a strange being. But I will definitely share when these trays are full and things are ramping up, and keep you updated on all that. So thank you so much for watching, and thank you for joining me on this journey.